Hello everyone, this is Betsy from Ideas Times 2. Today I have a project share plus a tutorial at the end. I have made something with your YourCreativeStudio goodie box that they sent, and they asked Cindy and I to make a project out of the items that we received from them. Lots of good stuff, as you can see here. It's been picked through a little bit, but their subscription boxes include all of these types of things. So they have rubber stamps, washi tape, stickers, all kinds of papers, different types of papers, and little collaging papers, vellum. So all kinds of fun items, and I will leave the link down below where you can find them and get a subscription box of your own. I think they do come in just 1 month or monthly subscriptions that you can purchase as well, so, probably at a discounted price. So I will leave that link down below. I'm going to share what I made with some of the products. As you can see, I can make a couple of more projects with those. Pretty awesome. So I made an envelope journal. So you can see lots of collaging on the front and on the back, and it's entirely made up of envelopes, and I will be showing you how I made this, the cover and the pages out of this. But first I'm just going to flip through it very quickly. So it's a basic tie with sort of a fake leather tie, and I just have this decorative clip on it. It's not really holding it together because it's long enough to tie around into a bow. So I made the collaging, as I said, and I made the I reinforced the spine. It is a hidden hinge binding, which I reinforced on the back with cardstock and then also the fabric, and I just did some decorative stitching on the fabric there. And there's the back. So it has, not including the covers, which are sort of pages as well, but there are 4 pages inside. So you would need 6 envelopes to make the basic bones of this book. So let me show you what I mean by basic bones. Because you can actually add other envelopes and make flips. So I've done that on several of these pages, but like a page with just the envelope would look something like this one, because there isn't anything extra on here. So I just made pockets out of the envelopes. This one has a little junk journal that I made, and I just slipped that right in the pocket. So used all of these have lots of collaging and lots of little items from YourCreativeStudio. So as I showed you just a second ago, this one has another envelope flip, which becomes a pocket as well. So things tucked inside each of these pockets and flips. This one is collage right here with a little writing space, and I used an envelope flap, which is an envelope on this side. I used the flap from that to glue onto here, and I made a little tuck spot, so I have a few things tucked right on there. So that flips shut, and then we turn the page, and here's the other side of the envelope, which has the pocket in it. So this is the actual main page of it, and the pocket is on this side. A few items tucked in there, and then this little envelope flips down, and there are items in here. So I just put a button and string closure on this, just for something fun and a little bit different from the other pages. And then here's the next page. So this one has a smaller envelope, not as small as this one, but it has a little bit of a smaller envelope that's attached at the top. So it goes around to the other side, and this is sort of like an open pocket then, because the flap is actually glued onto the other side. But it flips up, and I put a pocket here, some items there. This is the main page, so this is the flap for that envelope, and I put a belly band on here, tucked a few items into there, and you flip this up, and this is a pocket, of course, there, and then I also put another little pocket here for smaller items. So that goes down, and that goes down like that, and then you turn it over. And I attached another little envelope on the side here, on the end. So there's a pocket here. And this is the back side of this main envelope here. So this is the back side of it, but I attached a side pocket, a side tuck spot. So I put a tag in there. And then this is the next main page. Here's the envelope with the large pocket. Look at some of these papers from the YourCreativeStudio pack. Isn't that beautiful? Both of these, both this background and this. It sort of had, we sort of had a few railroad items in there, so it was pretty awesome. So this flap opens up, and I attached an envelope that flips down like this. So this becomes a pocket, and this becomes a pocket here. And, you know, you can attach more things, but I sort of kept it, you know, fairly simple. It starts to get real big, but there is a 1/4 inch between each page. There's a 1/4 inch bit of spine there to work with, so that it doesn't, you know, you can't put them right next to each other. Otherwise, your pages are gonna, you know, flip out like this, and it won't look as nice. It'll look like an alligator mouth. Alright, so this is the back side of that envelope, and I just put some paper on there, but I did make a pocket out of the flap of this envelope that came down. I just glued it up like this, and that became a pocket. So lots of little items tucked in there. And then this other main page here, I attached a tiny envelope. So this is the pocket part of that envelope. And then I attached another envelope. So this one actually has 2 envelopes. Most of them just had 1. And they're small. And I just made them so they, you know, flip over each other. So the pocket is here for that. And then I also made a side tuck there and put a few items inside of that. So that closes up. And I put a pocket here too. It holds some vintage tickets. And then the flap, I'm trying to, the flap of this envelope, just was glued down, but the flap of this envelope became a tuck spot here. So I attached this, since this is more likely to not stay very well because it's going vertically. I put a tiny little paper clip and just clip those pictures right in there. So this is the main page envelope, and which becomes the pocket here. And like I said, the flap of this envelope is just actually glued down in there. Sometimes I utilized the flaps and sometimes I didn't. It just kind of depended on what I sort of went by is, if I attached something on the side, then I would attach something on the top, or that kind of thing, just to kind of vary it up among all the pages. Okay, so we talked about that one. Now this one is the back cover, and so the flap is right here. I attached an envelope going sideways like that, and made that into a larger pocket here. So I actually closed up this envelope here and just cut off the end of it to make it be a larger pocket like that. Made a tiny pocket slash tuck spot to go there. Put in some of those. I used one of the vellum pieces to make a pocket here, which I really love that. And so I put just a few things there. And of course there's some items down here in this pocket. So this goes closed like this, and that flips over. I didn't put many tuck spots and stuff here because the book was already getting kind of full, so I kind of left it like that. So that is the basic book, using so many of their pages and little tear sheets and stickers. I also utilized the rubber stamps and for example, right here, just to add a little interest on different collages and stuff, I would, or tags, I would put, you know, some of the rubber stamping and washi tape and those types of things. So that's my book. I hope you like it. So next we're going to go right into the tutorial. I have some envelopes ready to go. I'm going to get the spine ready to go next, and so I will go get that spine ready. But before I do that and go off camera, you'll need to make a book just like this, and it doesn't matter what size your envelopes are. You could make a tiny mini book. How cute would that be? That would be adorable. Or you can make it a little bit bigger, and it does not matter what color your envelopes are at all. It does not matter. So I have 6 envelopes here. So that would be the front cover, and then the 1, 2, 3, 4 inside pages, and then the back cover. So that makes 6 envelopes. Of course, I put little flips and stuff, and I'll try to explain those when we get going on this tutorial. So you'll need 6 envelopes for the basic bones, and then a piece of sturdy cardstock to support, to make the hinges, and then one other piece of sturdy cardstock to support the spine. That's basically what you need, and you know, things like the fabric and stuff are sort of optional. So I'll be right back. Okay, so I have a few things to help us out here. We're going to make the spine for our envelopes, and it is, I believe it's called a hidden hinge. So I cut a piece of heavy cardstock, heavy-ish. So this is Tim Holtz cardstock, pretty nice weight. And I just cut it the height of my envelopes. I should be holding it up to this because this isn't done yet. I cut it to the height of my envelopes, and then how long you make it is gonna, of course, depend on how many envelopes you're gonna put on your book, but this would be like a general rule. So the front cover, you would need 1 1/4 inches of length. Each inside page requires 3/4 of an inch. So then moving along there, and then your back cover would need 1 1/2 inches for this the way I do it here. So so that's what you would need. I will put these measurements down below in the description box so that you can have that as a general guide. I made this just slightly bigger, and I'll just be cutting it off at the end. So I'll just, you know, walk you through the scoring here a little bit. So the very first, so this is just for the length. Okay, this is not for any scoring measurements or anything like that. The scoring is very simple. I like to have 3/4 of an inch on each end so that I can wrap it around and make the cover. So secure it on the front cover and on the back cover. And so I like a little bit extra paper there. As you can see, I covered it with fabric, but there's 3/4 of an inch of paper underneath this fabric. So I like to start out with 3/4, I mean. So I'll just score at 3/4, and then just go 1/4 of an inch score marks all the way along. And usually what I do is I just count. You need 1/4 of an inch for your spine at the beginning. You need 2 1/4 inch score marks for each envelope. So, see what I mean? So just 1/4 inch, 2 1/4 inch score marks for the next envelope, and so on. So you actually need 3 lines for each inside envelope. So we're just going to go ahead and just start. And I'm going to just start counting. There's 1. And I'm just going to keep going. And I'll show you what it is when I get to the end. Right, I made a mistake, so it does look a little different, but this is my scoring marks. And I put them in pencil so you could see them. So we have the bigger piece here, and then we start with our 1/4 inch score marks. So I put them all the way across until I got to the end where my other big piece is. So I do need to cut this off. I didn't measure, I just took a long piece and just did my scoring. So you can do it that way too, or you can just measure it using that method that I suggested earlier. So I'm just going to cut that off to get it to the right size. So now this is our piece. All right, so the way to fold it. I want to show you, I marked it with pencil so you could see. So here's the big part, and then the first 3 lines, or the first 2 sections, are going to be a hinge to attach our cover. And then we leave a space, and then this is another hinge, 2 spaces, leave a space, 2 spaces for a hinge, leave a space, 2 spaces for a hinge, and so on. And then the big part is at the end. Okay, so that's what it should look like. Big part, hinge, space, hinge, hinge, space, hinge, so on. Hinge, space, hinge, and then big part. So that's what it should look like. So I just thought I'd show you the marks where the hinges are, just to sort of clarify it in your head. Okay, so then we're gonna start folding. It doesn't matter, like for me, I covered mine with fabric, so, you know, and probably paper is gonna be covering it anyway, so it really doesn't matter what sides. Okay, we're gonna start folding, and since I marked where my hinges are, I'm gonna use that as a helpful tool. So each hinge space, that center fold is going to be folded up. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that on all my little hinge spaces. We marked it, or I marked it to show you. And so I'm just taking my hinge space in that very center fold. I'm just folding it up toward me. Okay, so then all the ones in between that are going to be folded down. So it's not exactly an accordion fold, but even if you did make do an accident and fold it in an accordion way, it's still going to be fine because you'll figure it out as you go along, and you'll just refold it. So really not a big deal, but let's see, am I doing that right? Nope. Yep, so it's opposite. All the other folds are going to be opposite, and the reason why is because that's our space that we need to leave flat. We're not gluing those together, we're leaving those flat. So, and so on. So this is what it'll look like. You've got hinge. It's going to be glued together eventually. So hinge, flat spot. Hinge, see that? And then flat spot. And then hinge and flat spot. See how that's working? So just like that, fold it all the way across, and then we'll start gluing. Okay, for this part, I like to use double-sided tape, but I ran out and I have none. So another thing that works perfectly fine, of course, is glue, and I've got some Fabri-Tac, something I always have on my craft desk, and I will be starting to just glue these down. Now, it does take a little bit more patience to use a wet glue. I actually do prefer the double-sided tape, but that's just the way it is for today. So this was our piece, and our first mountain fold that on the reverse side is actually a valley. So we're just going to put a little bit, run a bead of glue along one of those sides, and then pinch that little. And this is what it looks like on this side. Pinch that little mountain piece together like this, and you can use, you know, if you need to wait for a few minutes because you're using glue, you can just, you know, have some clips on there, some paper clips to keep that together until it's dry enough to work with again. This is, Fabri-Tac does dry fairly quickly, so I mean this is probably fine. I didn't use like, you know, a huge amount of glue, so it also will stay together pretty well. Okay, so there's our first hinge, and then we left a flat spot. So our next one is going to be another one of our little mountain folds. So we're going to do the same thing there. I'll just show you this one. And then I will do the rest. And pinch those together. The pencil marks are not going to show, so not to worry about any of that. Okay, so there we go. We've got 2 hinges now with a flat spot in the middle. Okay, so I'm going to keep going until the very end, and then we'll show you how to attach the envelopes. All right, this is what we got. So we've got our 6 hinges, a flat spot in between, and then on the ends we go right into the 3/4 inch ends. So you can, at this point, before we attach the envelopes, you can do a little clippy-do on the ends like that, just to help them slip in better. I think I'm going to try it without doing that, but you certainly could do that. Also, I did trim a little bit off of this, so when you do measure this, I would actually make it just the tiniest bit shorter than the envelope. I kind of learned that the hard way, and I forgot to mention that, but so make it just a tiny bit shorter. So I forgot to do that, and so I did wind up just, even at this point, you can just trim it a little bit. Not a lot, of course, but because you still want all this support, as much support as you can get. But I did forget to do that, so I did trim. Okay, so the envelopes. You need 6, and 1 is for front cover, 1 is for back cover, and then the 4 are the pages in between. So for the front cover, if you want the flat part in the front, make sure you're aware of how you're putting this in and how you're cutting the edge. So each envelope has to have 1 edge cut in order to insert it onto the hinge. I guess you could insert it on the outside of the envelope, but to work with the flaps and all that kind of stuff, it is easier just to slip it inside the envelope. So, so keep that in mind. It would be cute to have the flap on the outside too, but for this sample, I just did, you know, a plain front, and so I'm going to stick with that model. And so I sliced off with the flap facing up. I sliced this off on the right side, and then all your other envelopes, I usually cut left, right, just to make it more interesting. But you could make them facing all the same way, in which case you'd cut them on the same edge as each other all the way down, or you can mix it up. So just make sure if you need a flat part for the front cover or a flat part for the back cover that you're aware of how those envelopes are going on. Okay. And all right, so then this first hinge will need to be glued on both sides. And once again, if you have double-sided tape, this is also a good application for that, because you can put the double-sided tape on, center it, then remove your release paper slowly, kind of pulling it out, and it's usually a really great way to do it. But today I have wet glue. So then you're going to open your envelope up just a little bit and scooch that hinge inside. So you noticed I sort of peeled this back so that I could get that hinge in easily. And then you're going to want to go right up to the line, not over the line. You have to be careful. You got to make sure that you can still flip it without any problem. So scooch it back from your fold just a tiny bit. Okay. And there you've got your front cover on. And then all the envelopes will be glued on in the same way. And then at the end or now or whenever you'd like, you can go ahead and glue your reinforcement flap here onto the front cover. And that just completely see, we have it attached like this, and it just completely folds over the top like this. Okay, and then you can cover this up. I'll show you next, but just like this. Okay, and then at the end, when you get it all glued, it will look like this. And let me just show you that. So see, I have that coming up the front. This is glued on. I just decided to do face to face like this, flap to flap I should say, and then this is solid then, and this is a flap. Two solids, flap over here, solid here. So I just mixed it up. Then this will be two flaps, and I made sure that I had a flat part on the back cover. So this is what it'll look like, and I have already attached the support piece. But if you don't support the spine, it just has a tendency to wiggle around like this a lot. So what I did was I just measured. You can see there are two different papers here. So all I did was I measured just, the flat part of the spine, measured it just a tad bit skinnier this way, but the same height as the envelopes, just a little skinnier so it doesn't interfere with the fold. And then supported that spine so it's nice and flat like that. Okay, and so since there's not like a space or any wiggle room here, I didn't make this as wide as these pieces here. I just completely reinforced it with that. And my reasoning for that was I knew I was going to have fabric over the top anyway. So that was kind of my other reinforcement, is just to put I almost did it again, was to have fabric here. So I like the look of fabric on there. If you do want just like an additional layer of paper, I'm trying to think how much paper is here. I think it would be helpful to have another layer of paper, but you'd have to really give yourself a little bit of a gap here, some kind of wiggle room on that. But I think the easiest way is to use fabric because it's so flexible. All right, so that's that. This is the bare bones. Now the next part is, it's kind of hard to explain, but it's easy in a way, because all I do is I just look through here, and you could have this all planned ahead of time if you want, but I just kind of do it on the fly. So this is my method. But so you can take a look at this and say, oh, this is going to be a nice deep pocket here, but it might be fun to have like a tuck spot down here. So then you might want to glue this. Well, I guess you wouldn't, because of the cover. You might want to do it this way. So you would make this pocket come down like this. Oh, hey, I want a flap here. Then you can just glue this on and collage over it. And then since you have one coming down, you'll look at this one. Maybe you're like, well, I'm going to have an envelope maybe coming off the side. So then if you have a skinny envelope like this, you could, put it on like that. This one, I had one of my pages, I actually used one of the envelopes from their supplies. Like they sent something in one of these envelopes. I think it was this one right here. And so it already had a flap on it. It was more like a coin envelope style. So I put that on there, which would give it just this exact same look. But I've got this envelope ripped apart. No, I don't. But you could rip this off, or not rip. You could gently separate these pieces and use this as your hinge on that. So that's cool. So I literally just very loosely went through here, added, I'm like, okay, that would look cool here. This would be cool here. That's literally what I did. I might leave a page, and then this one I'd be like, oh, it would be cool to do this, where we got one here, one small one, and another small one here. That would look cool. And then I would kind of peek. I'm like, well, I don't have a flap or anything, so maybe you could just make a pocket on your own, right? Just make a pocket out of cardstock. So that's literally all I did. And see how cool this is. This would give you like a fun design element. You could either glue this down. I am having the hardest time today, so my camera just shut off, and so I just was in the middle of explaining. So you could use this as a tuck spot by just gluing, you know, part of it on, or you could use it as a design element only and collage this separately from this, and then just glue this down. So all kinds of, just, you know, I just was thinking of things as I went along, basically. So making your own pockets, making your own tuck spots, or utilizing little envelopes for flips and flaps and stuff like that. So like this would be a perfect tuck spot here, or you could glue it on like this and have this come down. Just so many things, so many fun things. And then always take a peek at the next page to see how it would look best on the next page too. So that's all I did. I just did it on the fly, but you could definitely have it all planned out. Use all kinds of different colors of envelopes if you want. You know, it doesn't matter. So much fun. I hope you enjoyed the flip through and the tutorial for how to get started on one of these envelope journals. They're just so much fun. They really are. Such variety, and you know, thinking of things as you go along. It's pretty nice. Alrighty, so here we have it. Please be sure to I'll leave the link down below for YourCreativeStudio, which is a subscription box service, but you can also just buy one box at a time. And they are theme-based as well, so lots of cool options there, so be sure to check them out. I'll leave the links where you can find us down below as well, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Take care. We are coming up real close to another giveaway on our YouTube channel. We appreciate you guys. We appreciate our subbies so very much, so be on the lookout for that, and lots of content coming up as well. So take care, everybody. We'll leave the links where you can find us down below. Be sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We would appreciate that so very much. So take care and have a wonderful day. Goodbye.